The other day I put out a video on the real cost of the Flow Hive, and today I'm actually extracting honey from my traditional Langstroth hives. So I wanted to show you what the process is and really what's involved. This is David Gilmore, known as LDS Prepper, and to watch over 600 videos on emergency preparedness on collecting honey from your bees, being off grid, water purification, how to grow food if your life depends on it, go to ldsprepper.com. It's only May 31st, so the flow hasn't even started yet. You may be asking, David, why are you extracting honey? Well, this is last year's honey. It was so cold and the weather was so miserable. When I pulled these frames and these boxes off my hives last year, I just put them away and had to wait till it was warm enough for the honey to flow out of the frames when I spin them in this honey extractor. The problem is that they have crystallized in the cells. So now it's taking me about 45 minutes to an hour to extract some honey out of 9 frames in this electric spinner. I could not do this if I had a manual one. If I had 2 or 3 flow hives, I would have just put them directly in the honey directly into the jars and wouldn't have this issue with crystallized honey trying to extract it from the cells. So there's another drawback. You have to process the honey immediately, whether you have a flow hive or not, at the end of the season. Otherwise, you could have extraction problems like I'm having right now. Another bonus reason to have a flow hive, because it's going to go right from the flow hive into the jars or into your bucket, and you're done. You may need to harvest 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, depending on how busy your bees are in making honey. Here, I typically only harvest once a year. And with either the Flow Hive or traditional Langstroth hives, this is the reward, is getting the honey. As it's said in the industry, most people get into beekeeping for the honey, and most people leave the beekeeping because of the honey, because of all the work that's involved in extracting the honey. If you want to stay in beekeeping, love beekeeping, and enjoy beekeeping for years and decades to come, I encourage you to take a look into flow hives. I'm not associated with them in any way other than I think it's a great solution. And that's what this YouTube channel is about, helping people save time, save money, and save mistakes. All right off the bat, I want to say you need none of this equipment if you have a flow hive. So what we have here, I've got buckets with gates on them. So you need you can get a food grade bucket and then also a gate, so you need to buy that. Of course, I have stacks and stacks of frames I need to harvest, so you need to buy all these frames. You need to buy boxes to stack. I typically have 3, 4, or 5 boxes on top of my 2 medium boxes in my hive. Then you're going to need some kind of a container here to separate the wax from the honey. In other words, I use this as a decapping bucket here. So I'll take this wax, this frame here, put it up here, use the knife to cut off the cappings. And you can see here on this side, I've already done that. By the way, you'll need to get a decapping knife or this really cool knife I got with our Vitamix. I really love this knife. It's a serrated knife, works really well, nice and flexible. But anyway, so you need to decap that. Then you're going to need an extractor. I've used a manual extractor for years. My goodness, that'll give you a lot of workout. This is a 9-frame German-made electric extractor, so that's really nice. Makes it work great. I put those in there, and it extracts the honey. You'll need to also purchase a 2-part sieve. If you're using a traditional hive, this looks like we got honey coming out. And the top part of the sieve is the initial filter. You can see right here. So it has a larger screen, and then the bottom screen down below it to get the particulates out. And then I'm putting this in a 5-gallon bucket because I've got a lot of honey to extract, and it's just faster to do that. And then we'll just store it in this 5-gallon bucket as is. This is a nice food grade bucket I bought. Otherwise, I would be extracting the honey into this bucket here with the spigot and then putting the honey into mason jars. So with the traditional hive, you're going to need an extractor. This was, I think this extractor was $1,500, $2,500, something like that. You'll need the screens, you'll need gates, you'll need multiple boxes and frames, and you also need a decapping station there. None of that do you need with the Flow Hive. And then of course you have cleanup. So everything's covered with honey. So you have to, when I'm done, I'll take this outside and let the bees clean up this as much as possible. Then I'll wash this down. Then I have to have a place to store it. I have a place I have to store about 40 boxes with frames. So you need a place for that. None of that's involved with the Flow Hive. I don't own a Flow Hive because I already have 5 traditional hives. But if you want to get a Flow Hive, it's going to cost you less money to get actually up to 3 Flow Hives. It'll cost you less money than it would be to get a less expensive extractor and not so many boxes as I have, and no mess to clean up. You literally just stick the jars behind there, open the spigots, and then collect the honey and put them right in a 5-gallon bucket or gallon bucket or jars or whatever you want to do. If you're a backyard beekeeper, not trying to get, don't want 5 hives like I have, don't want to stack 5 to 8 boxes high, don't want to deal with all this extraction issues, get a Flow Hive. Absolutely, hands down. I don't own a Flow Hive. I have 2 Flow Hives in my apiary that I help the owner of the Flow Hive manage. Last year, they were able to get their harvest of honey, and they absolutely had just so much fun doing that. You could not wipe the grins and smiles and happiness off their faces. It was just amazing for them to experience. Do I own a Flow Hive? No. Do I recommend a Flow Hive? Yes, I do wholeheartedly. If you're looking for 2 or 3 garden art quality, furniture quality built Flow Hives. And if you don't want the mess and the hassle and the expense of doing all this extraction, I would definitely recommend a Flow Hive. If you're looking for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 100 hives, I would definitely not get a Flow Hive, because then you're more on a commercial basis. We produce about 100 pounds, probably 75 to 100 pounds of honey per hive, and I have 5 hives. So we're producing a lot of honey. If that's not what you're into, then get a Flow Hive. 1, 2, or 3 hives, I'd recommend a Flow Hive, hands down, absolutely. It'll be a lot more enjoyable experience for you. You still need to be a beekeeper. You still need to take care of your bees, make sure your queen's healthy and your hive is healthy, and you're looking for varroa mites. So I also recommend getting the Backyard Beekeeping book. I'll have a link down below for that. And I think it's the best book written, in my opinion. It's simple, easy to read book, and it teaches you how to make wax candles and lotions and lip balms and how to take care of a hive and everything. So hopefully this information is helpful to you. I do have over 600 videos on preparedness, including beekeeping. I've been a beekeeper for over 12 years and thoroughly enjoy it. If you own a Flow Hive or considered having a Flow Hive and have questions, or have questions about traditional hives, please comment down below. I'll be glad to answer your questions and like to get your feedback on your experience. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if you are prepared, you shall not fear.